You're going to hear from, if I announce this right, Olivia Pope, you know? It's sort of. How many of you would know what I'm talking about if I say that, right? There, a lot. And parents up there, a few more hints, you know, President Fitzgerald Grant and the gladiator culture and Huck. Be careful how I say that, Huck. And Scandal. Scandal, that's the answer. According to the latest ratings, right now, the most popular program on network TV today is the ABC drama called Scandal. It's a jaw-dropping drama. If you've tuned into any of this or watched it on Hulu or wherever, you know, it has a president who literally murders a Supreme Court justice. You've got, and he's a president you like. He's one of the good guys. It's got neck-snapping plot twists and lies and liars and moles and likable assassins and torturers and philanderers and mistresses and terrorists and serial killers and flawed heroes and likable villains, and it's got glamour and sleaze and sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So just about everyday life in Washington, D.C., you know, right? Well, maybe, but maybe not so much. But our speaker knows the answers to all this because she is, if not Olivia Pope, actually, to be accurate, she's the inspiration for the character Olivia Pope on that show, and she's the co-executive producer of Scandal. She's Judy Smith, our Judy Smith, College of Communication, 1980. Miss Smith, yes? Yeah. She majored here in public relations, returned to her hometown. You can clap for that, you PR folks, right? You could learn a lot from that. She returned to Washington, D.C., where she grew up, got a law degree from American University. And her bio, even by itself, is really the stuff of headlines. She was a senior vice president at NBC at a very young age. She's still young, of course. She was involved in you may not remember this, your parents probably would, the Iran-Contra investigation in the 1980s, which came close to toppling the Reagan administration. She was a prosecuting assistant U.S. attorney who helped go after a quite colorful mayor of Washington, D.C., who was known for snorting cocaine. Deputy press secretary in the White House, working with President George H.W. Bush. And there's no doubt she could have carved out a really remarkable career in either the law or in media relations. But I think what she proves is that the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts. She took the skills she had and she kind of pulled them both together. And in the words of the show, she became a fixer. She was able to bridge that gap between lawyering and crisis communications. She opened her own firm, Judy A. Smith and Company, and attracted a clientele that probably in truth brought new meaning to the words screw up. These were people whose mistakes made world headlines. They became the fodder of scandal sheets and talk shows, and I can tell you a couple of them. Monica Lewinsky. She was the other woman in Bill Clinton's infamous sex encounter. Michael Vick, you know, the quarterback, and still playing, who was found to be running a cruel dogfighting operation. And there was a senator named Larry Craig, who very much a Bible-quoting senator who was arrested in an airport men's room for trying to, you know, have a quickie. Right. Wesley Snipes, the actor, who for some reason decided that he didn't have to pay income tax and got caught. And the BP oil company, when they needed a lot of help after the Gulf oil spill. So there are many more clients that she has had whose screw-ups we'll never know about because they hired Judy and she fixed the problem. Who knows how? But I'll let her tell her story, why she does what she does, and I think it'll surprise you. But most important, COM is enormously proud to have her back. And listen carefully, it may save your budding careers, class of 2013. So it's a pleasure, a lot of fun to introduce Judy Smith. Again, College of Communication, class of 1980.
Well, Thank you so much, Dean. I really, really appreciate being here. And I should probably warn you that my son just graduated, so I sort of remember that state where you're kind of half awake. There's one eye open, one eye closed. So thank you so much. As the dean said, who actually watches the show? Anybody here watch the show? Yeah? All right. So I should probably start off with a few things. For those of you who watch it, I probably want to say that I did not have sex with the president. I think I should probably get that out of the way. The second thing I probably want to mention is that I don't have people in my office who work under pseudonym names. If I did, I probably wouldn't blow their cover today. So I want to tell you that. And I also probably should mention the fact that we don't move dead bodies out of the office. And while I work with investigators, I don't tell the investigators to sort of, beat people to death to actually get information. So I don't do that. I don't do that. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. As I said, I'm assuming that everybody's probably partied all night. Got a little partying in this morning before you actually showed up. But don't raise your hand because your parents are here. So I don't want you to say that. So we're going to try to do a little something different. I know the dean told you to cut off your cell phones and your Blackberries and all that stuff. How many people have them? Still have them? All right, let's cut them on. Cut them on. You can actually do this. Like half of you have probably been texting when we started anyway, so this part should be easy for you. So we're going to do this a little differently. I'm going to tell you the 5 things that I want to tell you so you can remember. I'm serious. Cut them on. Get them out. Cut them on. Let's do that. Get your moment. I know, they're like, really? She's making us cut our phones on. We got them on? All right. So the first thing I want to tell you is that I'm going to give you 5 points, and because I'm actually going to work hard to get you guys out here early, at the end of those 5 points, you got to stand up, give some, oh God, yeah, that was a great speech, and we're out like 15 or 20 minutes earlier. All right, so here's the first one. One is, I want you to be prepared. That's sort of a basic, very fundamental thing, but really be prepared. And the reason why I say that is that you don't really know when opportunity is going to appear. My path has been a little different than most, and we'll get to that, but I want to give you the 5. So the second one that I want you to remember, in addition to really being prepared, as the dean had mentioned in screw-ups, is that you're going to make mistakes. Learn from them. That's number 2. Right? The third thing that I want you to remember that I think is critical is don't feel like you have to know it all. And the parents are probably saying, don't worry, they don't already. People are like, amen to that one, right? All right. The next thing I would say is don't cave into pressure. Right? Don't cave into pressure. Okay, we got sort of top 4 or 5 points? Yeah? All right, you can cut your Blackberries off. You can stand up and clap for me. I'm done. No kidding. Make it like you just saw Beyonce in a concert. The guys can pretend there was some wardrobe malfunction and it's really great. All right, sit down. All right, that was just to make sure you were alert and you really weren't half drunk. All right, let me talk a little bit, and then really I am going to let you go. You know, first of all, for me, it has been this very unexpected career on my part. And the reason why I said it's important to be prepared is because the opportunities that I've had has really I've just stumbled along and they have come to me. You know, parents and professors, and they're going to kill me for telling you this, is, you know, people talk a lot about having sort of this 5-year plan or 2-year plan, and I've had no plan. But the key is that I have been ready. When I first graduated, just like you, from BU, I remember this because I had crutches, actually. And I remember hobbling on the stage, getting my degree, and going back to my seat thinking, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I just don't know. And I say to you, don't feel the pressure to think that you have to have it all figured out. And you have to know exactly what you want to be and exactly what you want to do, because you don't. You honestly don't. I actually thought that I was going to go to this, you know, very big, fancy PR firm. And I was very excited about it because I was dying to get a job there. And quite frankly, I didn't get the job. And so what I ended up doing was going to work at a nonprofit organization for basically free. I mean, you guys will all experience this because it's very hard to make money on your first job when you get out of school. And so, but it was the best thing for me because I ended up doing everything. I ended up figuring out how to plan a press conference, how to write statements, how to write a media advisory. And all of that was important, but I really stumbled onto that. But I was prepared for that. And really, quite frankly, the same thing happened to me 3 other jobs after that. I was working at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and as the dean mentioned, you know, worked on cases such as Marion Barry and, you know, a lot of high-profile cases. How I got the job at the White House, I was President Bush's deputy press secretary, the DAB, was because Marlon Fitzwater had just gotten a reference for me to take over his job. But he saw me on TV arguing with the press on the Marion Barry case. If I never would have took that low-paying job at the U.S. Attorney's Office, another one in my career, I would have never gotten the job at the White House, honestly. When I was at the White House and they were interviewing me, most of you, which I know that you know this, it's usually when you get jobs at the White House, it is because you've gotten a lot of money, you know somebody there, and that's how that works. I knew absolutely no one. And in fact, when Marlon called me, I hung up on him 3 times because I thought it was a joke. I said, oh, sure, this is somebody joking, one of my friends. And he said, please, it's really me. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. And, you know, I thought he was actually joking. How I got the job at the Iran-Contra investigation, this was a little before you guys' time, but, you know, it was with President Reagan, and he was involved in arms for hostages. I was supposed to go work at a law firm called Rogers & Wells in New York. I was an intern there. And I was actually so excited about getting the internship. And so back then, they gave you this big signing bonus. And of course, being the student that I was, I spent the signing bonus immediately and went out and I got my apartment. And so I was having lunch one day with one of my buddies at the Iran-Contra investigation. And I'm not a shy person, and so she was asking me, she said, what do you think about the press that you guys are getting? I said, well, quite frankly, it sucks. You know, I think you guys need to do A, B, C, and D. 2 days later, I found myself in the office of the prosecutor who was in charge of the Iran-Contra investigation, offering me a job. And needless to say, I was in a major freak out because I already had a job. So he said, well, who are you working with? I said, well, I'm at Rogers and Wells. So he said, Bill? I'm like, well, who the heck is Bill? He said, Bill, Rogers and Wells. I said, well, sir, I was just an intern. I didn't know who Bill was. And he said, I'm just going to call him. I'm like, oh, God, don't call him. I already got a job. Don't do it. Don't do it. He said, no, I'm just going to call him. So I'm sitting there sweating bullets. So he said, Bill, I've got this woman here. Her name is Judy Smith, and I understand she's supposed to work for you. And he said, but look, I need her more. She needs to stay with me because scandals don't happen that often in Washington, and I really need her. Now, he didn't know what we know then and what we know now. It's totally different. So he said, well, let me talk to her. And I have to tell you, the fixer did not have it together at that point. He gave me the phone, and I said, oh, Mr. Rogers, I wasn't looking for a job. I don't know why he called you. I spent the signing money. The bonus is gone. I spent it on my apartment, too, and I bought a car. I'm so sorry. And he said, relax, relax. He said, I think you should take that job. I said, really? He said, yes. And he said, and you could keep the signing bonus. I'm like, phew. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And he said, and by the way, what's your apartment address in New York? So I said, it's 416. He said, Sally, check out 416. And Sally said, don't worry about it, we represent them. I said, so I get my money back from the security deposit too? He said, yes. I'm like, right. So all of a sudden, my plans had changed in 2 days. So I found myself, instead of in New York, in Washington, D.C., sitting across from Poindexter, who I know means nothing to any of you here, but sitting across from him, you know, questioning him. I was right out of law school. Right out of law school I was doing that. So, you know, my path has been, you know, really incredible, but the preparation has really, honestly, truly helped. And it has been a path that I think has been slightly different. The TV show is also another example of being passionate and being able to take risks. I wasn't going to pitch a show. I had written a book, and I was going to go talk about the book and talk about my work. And what was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting turned out to be actually a 2-hour meeting. By the time I got to the car and I left that 2-hour meeting, she called me in the parking lot and said, I gotta have that show. So I would just encourage all of you you got the 4 or 5 points down, is just to be prepared when opportunity happens. Don't be pressured about not knowing what you want to do. You will find that. You know, commencement speakers always say, oh, go out, find your passion, follow your passion. I'm not going to say that. But I am going to tell you that you want to take time to really figure out what you truly, truly want to do. And I want to end by saying this, that all of the 4 or 5 points that I gave you are critical and they are important. But the one that I think that is the most critical and the most important is that character matters. You know, I've talked a lot about your career, but really think about how your personal life guides you in the kinds of things that are important. And it is character. Out of all the things that I've done, the only time that I have been in awe, we have represented, oh God, probably 15 countries. I work with heads of state around the world. And we've done so many things, but the only time in my life that I was really in awe of someone was when I met Nelson Mandela. And the reason why I was in awe of him, oh, absolutely, I mean, absolutely. The man didn't talk about character, he lived it. He lived it. He gave his life, practically his entire life, for something that he believed in. And at any point in your life, you will be tested by that. You know, the recent situation here in Boston with the bombings, there were certainly some people that ran away from that crisis and problem, but there were other people that ran to help and to assist. So I just would encourage each and every one of you to live your life by a strong sense of character, because that is really honestly what is going to define you. And my son told me not to talk too much, so I am not going to do that, because he reminded me that A, he didn't remember who his graduation speaker was, because he was in a total coma. So I want to, A, thank you for having me. I want to impart to you to go out and live the kind of life that you want. And I want to give a hands up to all the gladiators in the audience to say thank you for watching the show and supporting me as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's right. That's that rousing thing now. I think I at least shaved a good 20 minutes off of the time you're supposed to be here today.
But before she goes away, I want to present Judy with a Distinguished Alumna Award from the College of Communication. So Judy, thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much.
And making us proud there.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. And let me introduce, Cody has already been outed over there, and also Judy's husband is Bill Boulware, who is a 1980 COM film graduate. So, Terrier family, thank you for coming.